All right, YouTube is live. All right, you guys, we are live. And we are getting ready to record. So how is everybody doing today? Welcome to the Stay True podcast with your host, Karen. And today, this is our 100th episode. So I'm glad to be doing this series. Talking about dating, talking about marriage, and we're going to have Q&A sessions. We may have people in the audience that may come in and ask you all questions. Thank you guys for just celebrating with me and joining me on this 100 episodes. So part one, we talked about dating, as a single woman or a single man and the ups and downs. And we're just going to continue and we're going to dive into the do's and the don'ts. And we have married couples here that's going to give advice and tips. And, I'm excited. I'm excited to get these nuggets. And so I'm going to go around the room and I want you all to introduce yourself to the audience. So we're going to start with Kimberly.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
So I live in upstate New York. I'm right outside of Albany. I am from this area. I've been living in this area my entire life. And I'm a memoir writing expert. I wrote my memoir when we went into lockdown with COVID. And so then I decided, well, if I can write mine, I can more or less coach others to write theirs. And why that's important to me is because as someone who experienced domestic violence growing up with two alcoholic parents and then with my daughter's father, I feel like it's important that all of us get that all of our stories matter and that we can be that source of inspiration for other people to see those possibilities that aren't yet existed until they read other people's stories about what could be created. So that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And what is it that you do, Kimberly?
So there's three ways that people can work with me. They can do it themselves, they can do it with me, or I can do it for them.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Then we're going to slide over here to Dr. Robert and his wife. If you both will introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Denise, and we're in Reno, Nevada. Relatively recent move, like 8 years ago, which is relatively recent, but we spent most of our lives in California in the Bay Area. Originally, he's from Arkansas and I'm from the East Coast. And we provide coaching services for people that are in the areas of relationships and mostly like that, relationships and sensuality. And he's been doing that for a long time, like 30 years, and maybe less long, but we've been doing this together for some time.
Yes, and my name is Dr. Robert Goodman. Yes, we do life coaching based on relationships, as well as the relationship within yourself. And then you go out and get into a relationship with someone else, with anything else that you're doing. But it's the most important thing is that you are knowing who you are in a relationship with yourself.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Roberts. Okay, and thank you, Mrs. Denise, for the introduction. And then we're going to go to Mrs. Lauren and Mr. Kent.
Hello, my name is Dr. Penn. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. We don't really have a relationship coaching platform, but what we do have is what we had formed is Be a Boss, Marry a Boss group. It is for entrepreneurs who are married to other entrepreneurs. One of the highest divorce rates out there is entrepreneurs who are married to entrepreneurs or who are working together with their spouses. And so before we got married, that was a heartbeat of ours. I was like, how will we navigate through being married to each other and having our own business? How do we divide the time? How do we bring our concerns to the table? Money is one of the number one things that cause people to get divorced, but also the lack of communication. And being married to an entrepreneur are two ideas that happen in that environment. And so we wanted to collectively come together, build a group that says, hey, we support you being an entrepreneur and we support you doing your thing, but along with that, we want to build relationships with you, get to know you, encourage you, and likewise. So that is one thing that we do. But as a chiropractor, which is my main gig, we talk about how stress enters into your body, but a lot of the stresses that we have are people stress. Our spouses, our kids, our coworkers, our jobs, which affects our ability to be intimate sometimes with ourselves and then intimate with others.
It's awesome. I love it. Love it.
Thank you. This is my husband, Kent Felice.
What she said. No. My name's Kent Felice. I'm a sales marketing business consultant. I've been helping businesses market for 25 years or more in numerous different ways, many of which are known, many of which are not known. And then recently, so I still do that. And I actually help market her chiropractic.
You're breaking up.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. Don't know why. Sorry about that. Was married 24 years prior, then divorced for a relatively short period of time, about a year and a half before the two of us met. So we have a unique story. And then finally, I would say that we've added recently, we've started in the real estate investing game. So we do a lot of real estate investing and problem solving.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, Rachel Walker.
Hello, I am Raquel. That's my name, but I go by
Raquel.
Rachel.
I'm sorry. I've been
I
saying
mean,
Rachel.
I'm stuck with it from a little girl. I'm from Panama in Central America. I'm just a female that has been in the dating environment and a female that has had to go through a healing process while dating. I was looking for love in all the wrong places and all the wrong reasons. So I'm here to share my experience in dating and looking forward to learn and get some more knowledge.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Raquel. Sister Yvonne, you want to share with everyone what you do and tips and advice that we're going to talk about?
Hey, y'all. My name is Yvonne. I am a motivational speaker, a single mother of 3 who will soon be, get this right, 10, 11, and 12, previously married to their father for 8 years. I'm a 10-year veteran. I served in the United States Army for 10 years and have been out for about 7 now, but I am, as I stated, a motivational speaker, a coach. I coach in, I don't like to use the term life, but I do life coaching as well as coaching sports in order to intertwine the things that I would do in the life coaching spectrum for those clients as well that are in the sports field. I'm a firm believer that those skills can be taught in any arena. So in any arena is where I try to reach people, coupled with my love of sports. And so I met Karen through one of the groups on Facebook, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And we ended up talking, had so much in common. I mean, from the call of our life, which is what we're on this show about on tonight to our interest in life. And she's just become a great motivator to me, a passionate person, a sister in Christ. And I just, I love her spirit, and she's motivated me to amp up what I'm doing as far as encouraging people, helping them through my life experiences that I've had. As I stated, I was married previously for 8 years to my children's father. And some do's and don'ts. Everything doesn't work for everybody in relationships, but you have to find your niche in that, and you have to make it your own. And but there are, I feel, some across the board guidelines that are beneficial and imperative for everybody to have in order to have a successful marriage, in order to have a successful dating life, in order to know who is wrong and who is right for your life. Because so many times I believe that we get caught up in feelings and emotions, and that can cause us to make the wrong decision, which can in turn cause us to waste some time and years. And so if we as a whole can reach a multitude, we may be able to save some other people from making those same mistakes that we made, and helping them to better understand how to love, who to love, how to receive that love, because some people are so broken that they don't know how to receive love. So I'll stop it at that. I'm honored to be on the show on tonight, and that's it.
Thank you, Yvonne. And Chris, I see that you're on. I know we're also doing Q&A too, as well, as we discussed. So Chris, I didn't know if you want to share anything, but I'm leaving the floor open right now if you would like to share something about yourself.
Thank you so much for inviting me here.
You're welcome.
I am a health coach, and I came on here to ask questions as well, because I'm very interested in learning more about relationships, because I myself have been in a marriage for 7 years, and we've got married very young. So yeah, that's why I'm here, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome, Chris. Thank you for coming in. Okay, you all, let's get started. Thank you guys for introducing yourself, and I also have your information, so I'm going to share that out. This is going to be up live, and any questions or anything that someone may need, I'm going to actually share their information with you guys. So on part one, we talked about, single and what it is today. As for me, I'm single as well. And I know we have married couples on, so I want to start off, because we started off talking about dating. I want to start off with just the values of marriage, and how you found out that that person was your soulmate, or how did you know that your other half was supposed to be with you. So we want to start off talking a little bit about that, and then we can I want you guys just to chime in where you need to. So I'm giving you guys the opportunity to start. Lauren and Kent, or Denise and Dr. Roberts, as far as marriage and your value in it. Like, I guess for us singles, we know the dating scene can be hard. But can you just give everybody a background of your story and marriage?
I'll give you a background about our story. So,
Okay.
Of course you will.
I graduated from chiropractic school at 45 years old. And after I graduated at 45, I thought to myself, I'm probably never going to get married, because I am a triple threat, if you will. I'm now a doctor, so people see that as being one of the highest callings you could be, one of the most intellectual positions that you could have. And I'm a Black woman, and I was very independent. So with that nice little mixture, I thought to myself, I mean, who's really gonna marry me? Because I had already been in the dating scene. I did a lot of serial dating, and I had came to the conclusion with the caliber of people that I had been dating, this would probably never happen. But in between that thinking process to get marrying this guy, I threw away a lot of the advice people were giving me, what you should look like, what you should act like, how you should dress. I had coaches, female coaches saying, you should wear your hair like this. Men love straight hair. Men love women who wear makeup. Men love women who wear dresses. And there was just, men love women who don't talk that much. You know, you're too smart. Can you break it down? And can you be a lot less? And so there was a lot of transitioning from being a lot less from the lessons that I learned to and to transforming into something that I wasn't. I have the capability of doing all of those things because I came from a family who is very big into fashion. So I know how to put on makeup and eyelashes and wear dresses and heels, and I knew how to do that. And I just didn't feel like that should be a huge requirement. Like, if I want to do it, let me do it. But if I don't want to do it, let me throw some jeans on.
I would just say, I want to actually agree totally with what Dr. Robert said about loving yourself first. Because I think it is so important. That's kind of what Lauren is saying, Dr. Pence.
I'm gonna fast forward real quick. And so
Okay.
what was very important during that time was coming to myself, like Dr. Roberts said. I wanted to get my education off the list because I was so concentrated with my one goal. I did. So it freed my mind up. I wasn't being a dual citizen, like I want to be in a relationship, but I want to finish this degree. And chiropractic school is very hard, so I finished that. I was done being a single parent. My son is a grown person. That's what I mean by done being a single parent. And I didn't want to marry for, I didn't want to marry for reasons. People marry for reasons. I'm single, I'm lonely, I don't have enough money, I'm not educated enough, I'm a single parent, I need somebody to help me raise these kids. And I felt like that was a very poor way of choosing a mate for myself. I felt like checking all those boxes off, I was free. So I was free. After I graduated in 2017, I was free. I could wear my hair the way I want to, dress the way I want to, be who I wanted to be, because all of those boxes had been checked off. I was now a business owner. I was done with my education. I was no longer a single parent. I wasn't raising and struggling with somebody. And I was my true self. And so at that moment in time, I was struggling with business and I was supposed to move. I moved to Colorado. In 3 days of moving here, I met my husband.
Wow.
And so I think it is very important to dig into yourself and break all those myths that you have in your own brain or projections people put on you. You know, you're beautiful the way that you are. There is somebody who is meant exactly for you, and making a conscious decision about that instead of, I feel this way, or I'm swept off by emotions, or you're swept off by the representative who comes only to find out that representative is somebody else 10 years later, 5 years later, 3 years later, or whatever. Kent, you're on.
I mean, I was just going to echo all that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't, I'll keep it brief. At the end of the day, you just be yourself. Because if you're not going to be yourself, you're practically wrong. Everyone had told her that she was too much, too much. But for me, she was not too much. She was exciting and vibrant and all of that. So that's what attracted me. So the very thing that turned most people off, she's very talkative, very smart, very kind of engaged in so many things, was exactly what I liked. So end of the day, and I think he's Dr. Robert is that's a form of loving yourself, I think. And look, because if you have to fake it or pretend to be someone you're not to attract the quote right person, they aren't the right person for you, in my opinion.
He came out of being married for 27 years. So for 27 years, he was accustomed to those experiences. and the experiences before then. So I'm an African-American woman. And one of the things he was like, well, you're not built like a woman that I would normally date. And I was just like, okay, but listen, this is all you're going to get. Like, I'm never going to be white. So scratch that off the list. I'm never going to be skinny. I was never skinny. Scratch that off the list. But look at yourself. How are you feeling about you? And he took his time because he was like, I've been married all of my adult life. I need some time for myself. And he took some time for himself to make a conscious decision. And what I mean by conscious is he wasn't pressured by the fact that I like you so much. And he wasn't pressured by his siblings saying, hey, she's different. He's like, listen, I need to take my time and figure this out for myself if this is going to be the right person for me. And so I hated it, but I appreciated it. You know what I mean? It was like, but I know you're my guy. And during that process, he took his time, which was a nice experience for me, because so many things have been rushed, and sometimes we ladies are in a rush. Like, I want to get on with the rest of my life, but I also set a tone of, I'm a businesswoman and I want a partner. I want a friend. I want a partner. I want somebody who understands business, and love could be a byproduct of this. And I would appreciate that too. But when love gets stripped away out of the infatuation, we need to have something bedrock called friendship.
I definitely agree. Oh, this is good. Okay, Dr. Roberts and Denise.
There you go.
Okay. She's gonna put me on the spot here first. So we've been together going on 30 years, and we are actually, she was in a course that I was doing, and then a food more program that we have at the university. She came to the food more and asked me, was I teaching? And I said, no. And about 2 weeks later, she asked me again. And I said, no, but I go with you. And here it is going on 30 years later.
Wow.
So yes, we done had some up and downs, and but just the thought of two entrepreneurs being together is a challenge, because she in the medical devices, and I am into relationships, and just her making sure that I'm always okay and healthy. I had to call my big sister, because she's real overbearing about that, and hey, I'm okay with it, but I like staying healthy, and I'm a sort of a martial art freak, and Bruce Lee like that, but and staying healthy, and the thing about the Chinese people, they want to be wise, as well as knowing how to fight, but be wise about it and share your wisdom about the things that you have learned and do. And so it's one of the things that I sort of do, like that.
And, I would just add that, I had been married before and was disillusioned with the whole thing. But even then I didn't get married until I was in my 30s. We're old. I'm old. I'll be 67 next month. But I think with age comes comfort and wisdom, and the ability to not really care what anybody thinks, regardless of what their, how I relate with them. It was like I was disillusioned with the marriage that I had, and it was in the wake of that being dissolved that we got together. And the main thing was that I was having fun with him. You know, it was like, oh, this guy is fun. He makes me laugh. And I enjoy his company. And, you know, that was really good, versus the, you know, tall white guy with the English accent, you know. So anyway, who he knows? But anyway, so that's it.
What was it like? Okay, I'm gonna give everybody else, before I ask the next question, I know Ivani, you've been married before. Kimberly, have you been married before? I know Chris says she has too as well.
I have a interesting perspective. I appreciate all of you, and I'm happy to be here because I feel like I found my peeps. And because I grew up with alcoholic parents, I have never had a desire to marry. And I think it's because of what I experienced. I experienced two people who loved each other, but I also experienced two people who could totally hate each other in moments of their intoxication. So as a little kid, it was so confusing to me because I'm like, I didn't know what love was. And Raquel hit it on the nail for me. I was looking for love from all the wrong places. And it led me to experiences that I do believe I was supposed to experience because I wouldn't be who I am today if I hadn't experienced it. But the underlining issue was that as a girl, I wanted to feel loved by my father. So then I was going to men who I thought could fulfill that, and they never could. It would just always leave me feeling like I was suffering. So as a little girl, I've never had that dream of my wedding dress and wedding church and big party. Still in my 40s, I don't care if I ever get married, or if I do, I do, and if I don't, I don't. It's interesting because I'm enjoying listening to all of you, and I have a different perspective.
Okay, that's interesting, Kimberly. Okay, I can't say, I guess for me, before I ask the next question, no, I'm not gonna talk, Yvonne, Raquel, and Chris, if you want to piggyback on anything that they have shared before I, ask the next question, feel free to do so.
Okay, I would say, but for me, you said something a key, a key thing, Kimberly. My parents were married. I was a daddy's girl, but because of my dad's job, he was in the military. He wasn't around a lot of times, you know. So it's like I crave that love that I was missing from him. And, you know, this took years for me to discover it and understand what I was doing. I was looking for that father's love I lacked because he wasn't around. When I was a little girl, I did have the dream, and I used to say this, I would get married 10 times because I wanted 10 rings as a little girl. And I'm 49 and I haven't got married yet, but I have been in relationships that it's like somewhat, you know, a marriage without the signature, or what other people would say, shacking up. I did that. And Kimberly just said something. I have the same feeling. I'm ready. I think I'm ready for dating. I think I'm ready for a relationship, a serious relationship, because I have no time to waste time. But if it's not meant for me to be married, I'm okay with it. And I had a period of time where I gave myself a break from dating because it was getting like really, hectic and aggravating, because things that guys that I would meet were not what I was looking for or what I needed. So I gave myself a break, off dating, and just started to look at myself, because I was like expecting things from other people that I didn't have myself to share.
Mhm.
I wanted everything was like, give me, but I wasn't giving, or I didn't have what to give them. So, it got to a point where I like, Raquel, you need to slow down, you need to take your break and, reassess, check yourself, do that mirror ministry. And during that time, I discovered that I had hurt. I was hurting. And it was, I had it so embedded but at the same time, it was hidden. I don't know if that makes sense. And I had to go through years of processing where that hurt came from and what I was dragging with me. I was bringing a lot of baggage, a lot. But all that time, I thought it was the other parties. So, we all we quick to blame somebody else, right? Then we discovered that we have a part to play in it. But that's the way it did go for me. And now, as I said, if I get married, I'm fine with it. If I don't, I'm fine with it. But I'm gonna try to, suck up everything that, people like you that are here, that I have experienced, have been through, relationship, dating, getting married, and things that you can share with us. I'm here to take in, because who knows, God probably has that man for me. And I want to be ready to be that wife that I'm supposed to be.
Hey, Karen, can I address something really quickly with you? I think one of the reasons this is so much more difficult than it should be, maybe, or we want it to be, is I really do believe in, not everyone here may believe in that, but everyone's probably heard of the law of attraction. Yes. A lot of people don't really realize what that encapsulates. And it encapsulates this: we attract, and listen to this and internalize this. We attract who we are, not what we want. When you say you want something, that is irrelevant to the universe. Do you deserve it? Are you the person that will attract that? So a lot of what you're saying, Raquel, is on the one hand, it's simple, it's not easy because we attract who we are, but again, everything goes back to Robert Good. Dr. Robert, you guys, you said that the first 5 minutes, and that's it. That's the whole ball game, in my opinion. Unless and until, but I think this is why it's so difficult. Unless and until you know who you are and you're okay with who you are, this is my opinion, I'm not going to say it as fact, nothing else matters. And everyone else will be the wrong person until you attract
who you want to be. Not who you want to be, but who you actually are. So when I was talking about I don't know if Kimberly and Dr. Goodman's wife have experiences, but I know in the Black community, there is this list of what a good man looks like. He's tall, he's Black, he's got 6 figures. There's this perpetual list that people tell you, this is what a good man looks like. And we're chasing other people's dreams, basically. We're chasing what that person may want. I want that because my girlfriend wanted that and her girlfriend wanted that. But you can look at all of that, but ask yourself what it is what I needed. And I started focusing on what I needed. And I started focusing on what my husband would appreciate, not before I had him, not when I got him. I was like, my husband, and it all reverted back to me. I was like, my husband's gonna think I'm the bomb diggity. He's gonna think I'm a good cook. He's gonna think I'm a magician. He's gonna think I'm, all of these things that I was like, my husband's basically going to really appreciate me. And that is what I had desired, my husband to appreciate me. And he's not going to be like, oh, your hair looks like this, or oh, you got this, or oh, yeah. And I stopped saying what I didn't want because we're so good at saying what we don't want. We never get to what we want. I was like, I want my husband to be smart, a book reader, a person who doesn't watch TV, a person who's vegan. I had a whole list of what I wanted my husband to be. And when he manifested, he was exactly what I said he was going to be. And so one could say, Kimberly and Raquel, I'm saying this to you because you both had said something that was very significant. It's like when people say, I don't want kids because I raised my niece, or I don't want kids because I saw those people, or I don't want kids because, but those kids aren't yours. They're not your DNA that comes from your body that you produced. So the relationship that you had with your with your dad, or those members who influenced your life, isn't your mate. You're not your mom. You're not your dad. So your relationship will be different. But if you cultivate that, and we talk about generational curses, we're just basically asking for the same thing that we've seen time and time again. But if you ask for something different, you'll get it.
That's good. Anybody else want to chime
Can I
in?
piggyback on that really quick?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. When I got to a place where I was ready to take a look at those dark places of myself, like Raquel was saying, those the baggage, because I realized I had so much baggage and I was triggered so much, especially around my dad, because I had the huge epiphany of just the impact that the experience I had with my dad and how it was affecting me and my relationships. I then decided I was going to sit down and I was going to write everything about the person that was going to come into my life. And that person was going to be total opposite of everything that I had ever experienced in my life. A man that I never thought as a teenager, as a kid, could come into my life because I was coming from that unworthiness place constantly. So when I finally sat down and I wrote all of this, all of the characteristics, all of the hobbies, how much time we'd spend together, his dislikes, his likes, how he would look at me, how he'd feel about me, his friends, everything. I laid it all out. I met the man that I'm currently with, have been with for 3 years, and he fits just about everything on that list that I wrote out. So to piggyback what you were saying, that was definitely my experience. Once I finally got to that place, unconsciously and consciously, it was taking a look at things that I was afraid of looking at my entire life. It was basically like I was scared of what would come up when I finally got to that place to really look at all of it, if that makes sense.
To kind of piggyback all over, y'all have my wheels just really turning right now. There's so much that happens in our subconscious that affects our conscience, and we don't realize it, and it affects the decisions that we make. Growing up, I was let's see, my mother, she remarried when I was 2 years old. And so the father that the dad that I know, and my parents are still married now, 38 years later, he married her when I was 2. He just happened to be white. So that affected me a lot growing up, because of the peer pressures from kids, making fun of me because I had a white dad, and making fun of me because he desired to be there. He coached me and everything, coached my brother and sister and everything. He was present, for everything that we had going on. And as I got older, and those things that subconsciously started bothering the conscious, if that makes sense. And it started making me kind of rebel against him, and to wonder, and it caused a lot of confusion as I was getting like into my early 20s, as far as like dating and what to look for. Now, my parents, they didn't have an immaculate marriage, but they did what they had to do to make it work. And so I saw what right looked like in that aspect. I saw healthy arguments. I saw unhealthy arguments. I saw, things that a normal Black child raised by a Black couple wouldn't see. And so when I hear of some other people's experience, of course, it doesn't really resonate with me because that wasn't my story. But at the same time, it's like I felt myself having quote unquote baggage because I allowed it. that stuff got into my subconscious, and it ended up affecting what I knew to be right, what I knew to be true, as far as like healthy relationships. And so first I had delved into the unhealthy things because I fought it. I was just like, no, I'm gonna see what it's like to do this. I'm gonna rebel and see what it's like to do that. It's kind of like I was thankful for it, but I'm like, you didn't have to take yourself through all of that, because you had that to look at as an example, but it made me who I am now. And it taught it in hindsight, I'm thankful, because I look back now, and if I'd been raised by the father that helped bring me into this world, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have the experiences that I have that helped me to, yes, my marriage failed, and I take partial responsibility for that. But there's a lot of things sometimes that happens in relationships that are unwarranted. And if you make the wrong decisions, you're going to choose those ones that have issues with wanting to be with all the women in the world. You're going to choose the ones that have, hidden alcoholic tendencies. You're going to choose the ones that, everything that I dealt with. But that was because I didn't take those experiences that I grew up with and allowed them to really shape and mold me. And instead, it kind of had me in a place where I was carrying baggage that I didn't have to carry. So it affected a lot of relationships that I had. And it wasn't until, I had the divorce and 3 kids later, and I'm a single mother, that I was coming into my own and allowing myself to know who I am and what it is I desired and what it is that I truly wanted, that, I realized that relationships can be successful. Then that's when I started looking back. My parents have been married 38 years. They, had their ups and downs. They, found a way to make it work. They, things weren't pretty. I remember one time the phone getting cut off, and my dad, he was just doing so much by himself, because he was kind of like the old school thing. He never wanted my mom to work, and she wasn't fighting it. So he just took on everything. And when the phone got cut off, my dad, he literally came to us crying and apologizing. And that was the first time that I had seen a man apologize. He apologized that he forgot to pay the phone bill. And so, because I made my own way, I didn't get to experience that of a man apologizing. I didn't get to feel that. It was kind of like the rebellion was still there. Had I not, and I looked at the example that I had set before me my whole life from the age of 2, then I could have cut a whole lot of mess out of my life. Now I'm grateful for the experiences. I'm grateful that I'm still living. But I guess I kind of said all of that to say that there's a lot that happens around us subconsciously that can get into us that we don't realize it affects our conscious state. And that plays a big part in the decisions that we make or that we decide to make. And so with my parents having been raised by a white man and a Black woman, I'm just grateful for the experience. It took until being 40 to know that relationships really can work if you work it. You do need to know who you are. It's healthy to have your time and space away from your partner so that you can, even if you need to do some further, who am I, but it's healthy to have that time and space away. And then you come back together and you're better for one another. So throughout the things that we go through in life, it's I feel like Raquel was saying, she's happy if she doesn't or happy if she does get married. My sister just turned 47 last week, and she's in that same place. When I was going through things with raising my kids, they were at one point 1, 2, and 3 years old at the same time, everybody in diapers. And their father decided he wanted to kind of be in and out. And again, the choice I made, I allowed him to be in and out. So, but thankfully my sister was there, and somebody had mentioned about raising someone else's kids. Well, my sister actually had said to me, you know, I'd always desired to have kids of my own, but now that I've helped you for 5 years raise yours, I'm good on that. I don't have to have my own kids to know what it's like to have raised some kids, because Auntie Nanny did it all. You know, when I nursed and I put it in the freezer, she did the feedings when I couldn't because I was full-time military. So she got a taste of some of everything. But again, you know, I'm grateful for those experiences, but a lot of that could have been cut out had I really just taken the time to look at what I had in front of me already. And I wouldn't have wasted so much time in life as I feel that I had, as far as being pursued or having that mate, that one that's really the one for me. I wouldn't have went on, you know, having that rebellion and such. But I'll stop my tangent. But yeah, it's great to have experiences set before you and around you. And if we just take heed to some of those things, I think it could save us a lot of heartache, a lot of time, and it could help us in our journey of finding ourselves, in order to be ready for whomever it is that we're supposed to be with. And then, not saying it's going to be blissful. Every day is not going to be roses. You know, some days it's going to be wilted petunias, but it's going to be worth the fight. And so, just anybody that's listening or watching that may be tuned in, you know, I just want to encourage you to not give up on love, because not every person that you've had before is going to be like the next. Give yourself the opportunity to love and to be loved, and to know that you're worthy of that love, and that no matter what you've been through, what your past was like, or whatever the case, if it's something that you desire, it's there available to you. Not everybody desires to be married, but some of us do, you know, to the right one. And so allow yourself that opportunity, and don't just cut yourself off from the future because of what the past dealt you. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Unlike a lot of women my age and younger and older, I never had as a goal orientation to get married. I didn't like my father. He was an alcoholic, but and I never wanted to be dependent on a man. And so I pursued my own professional career. Most of my friends are professional women who are not married. And a lot of them don't have kids. Most of them do not have children. I took a look at what my life might look like if I had children, and I simply was not interested. It's not something I wanted to do. It held no interest for me. And I had the gift of my mother, who loved children and was like totally into it. Always tell me, and don't ever feel like, you know, you have to have children to be complete or to be a woman. Like, don't ever feel that way. And my father was always saying, don't ever be in a hurry to get married. And, you know, not that that would have like made any difference to me, but I got married for the first time when I was like, you know, 34 or something. And at that point, I was established in my career. I knew I didn't want to have kids. You know, I don't even know why I got married to that guy. It was like something to do. You know, it was sort of, I should have just had the party. It ended up costing me a lot of money. That not the wedding part, but all the other stuff. Anyhow, I think we do other women and our girls a disservice by pushing this fantasy of, you know, I was over the white gown and the veil and stuff by the time I was 7 years old. You know, at 5 in Catholic school, I had the white gown and the veil, and I was leading the procession on May Day, and then we had First Communion, and it was like, I don't need this. You know, it was like, I'm done with it. So I think there's still too much pressure on people to think that they have to be married to be a right person, especially women. It's simply not true. And I think as mature women, we could gift that way of thinking to our girls, whoever they are in our life. And I've had girls in my life that I've been able to influence and be around, and that's been gratifying, and I'm done with it.
Yeah,
Doc,
I agree. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut in
No,
front of
I'm
anybody,
done.
but yeah, I agree because it's like, I mean, like you all said, it, knowing yourself or loving yourself, first, once you know who you are, you're like, okay, I know what type of person I want, but a lot of us compromise. I'm actually working on a book that I hope that I can get released this year. It's called No Compromise. And I actually just changed the title because I had to go back and be like, wait a minute. So this, I'm saying this is my story. So I want to make sure I have the right title. And I think a lot of us, compromise and be like, well, he or she hasn't came yet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna do whatever I want to, but it don't work that way because you're gonna end up with, the wrong person. So, like you were saying, Denise, like you have to love yourself. You can be successful. You can do the things that you need to do. And then when that person comes along, you two can continue to build together. This is my thing. This is what I asked you all on part one. I know that I've heard a lot of men say, well, I want to make sure, I guess because they've been told that, and they've been raised to be providers and just work or whatever. And a lot of men say, well, I don't got the time. We talked about that on part one. Well, I just don't have the time right now, versus someone else saying, well, that's not what they meant. But most men is like, well, I just don't have the time right now. I want to make sure that I get everything done. And, as a woman, as me on the other hand, okay, if I'm building and you're building, like, Lauren and Ken and Denise and Dr. Roberts, you both are entrepreneurs. So I know it gets busy. I know it's get crazy, but my thing is why we're building separately, well, why we can't build together. But I hear most men say, no, I need to get all this done. I don't have time to date, or I don't have time for this and this and that. And my thing is, I would like to continue to build, what I'm saying, with my future husband. I mean, God has already established my purpose. Yeah, I'm working in my purpose now. And I'm pretty sure there's other things that he wants to do in me. But the thing about it is, I shouldn't have to wait until you finish every single thing before we come together. So
you have
I
to
mean, that's
decide,
my opinion. That's my opinion.
Karen, you have to decide what provider means to you. Does that make sense? Like, we're raised to think, so I came from a family, my daddy was a provider. My daddy still is a provider. I was 40 something years old going to school. When my car broke down, he made sure I made it to school every day. My dad was a provider. He worked at General Motors for 47 years. He missed out on a lot of things being that kind of provider. So you have to decide what provider means to you. It can mean so many things. Because I was a strong person, because I am a strong person, as you could see, my husband filled a space where many men couldn't. He reached me at an emotional level, and that's what I needed. He provided those things. He made it safe for me to want to dream whatever it is that I want to dream. I was like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And he was like, okay. He made it safe. And in that was the kind of provision that I needed. Now he goes to work every day and he brings money home and we pay our bills together, but we're building, and you have to, like I said, decide what you want provision to look like for you, because it's different. If you're a woman who's already established, then your provision may not be, I need you to bring home a 6-figure, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Your provision might be, I need somebody who's going to emotionally support me, and they're going to join me where I am. We're going to collaborate in what we're doing, and we're going to create and build. If that is the kind of provision that you need, then that is what you're looking for. That should be what you're looking for. If you are a person who's like, look, I need a guy who makes 6 figures, there's nothing wrong with that. Find that guy. If you need a guy who wants to be a stay-at-home husband because you are the person out there beating the streets and making the money, that's provision.
Mhm.
And so provision looks like different things for different people.
Right.
We can get so encapsulated on what we've seen before us, because in the 60s and 70s, it was like that for Black families. Moms stayed at home, dads went to work. There you are. That's what provision looks like. In the 80s, when women started getting educated, 90s and 2000s, when women started making their own businesses, now provision has changed. And sometimes the men didn't catch up with that. And so provision begins to change in that perspective. And provision also is, if you're stuck on what one kind of guy you think you would like is the person for you, then maybe you might have to change what that looks like. I never thought I would marry a white guy. My son told me my whole entire life as he was growing up, "You gonna marry a white guy?" I was like, no. I was like, because my son is Black. Listen, my son is a tar baby. He's beautiful. He is my chocolate drop. He is gorgeous. And I was like, look at yourself in the mirror and you could define what kind of guy that I want, right? Because he had to look like that. And that is what I like. My dad is a dark guy. My dad is a tar baby too. So we look at the environment around us and we begin to morph into what we think provision is. That's what provision looked like to me. Until somebody else came along and was like,
I'm a little tan.
you know, and then we put restrictions on ourselves, right? Because I said to God, I was like, unless he's Italian, I ain't gonna marry him, right? His last name was Felice, and I was just like, well, what does that mean? He was like, well, actually, it's Italian. If you look at him, he looks European. I was like, and so when I'm talking about provision, your provision about what you want should come from heaven.
Mhm.
It shouldn't come from what you've lived and what you've experienced. And that guidance from heaven will give you what you need in the right, complete direction. I got married when I was 49 years old. I got married just last year. Okay. So if you believe in God, now, if you don't believe in God, okay, this message isn't for you. But if you believe in God or you believe in hope, then you must understand that those two things live outside of time.
I agree.
You know, you said something and it reminded me that the way I was raised to be strong, to be able to do things on my own. And then that can, clash when you are seeking, a companion, getting that person that you may actually marry. So it came times when I had my little attitude. If he didn't go right, you could just walk out the door because I can handle myself by myself. So that's something that, it's, if you notice, women now, we have empowered ourselves. We do a lot more. Yay. And so we feel that we don't need men that much, and that can be a little risky, because we all need that person, because God didn't make us to be alone at all. But it's the mentality and the society that we live in right now. It has made us feel like, we don't need it and we can do this alone. So that also has influenced us when it comes to dating a lot, because the man has his place, and the woman, she has her place. We cannot have two alphas in the relationship. Can't be.
But and again, I think the reason, or a reason, that it is really difficult, I think, finding the right person. I mean, it's probably always been that way. But, there's this thing that says, too few choices in life is a bad thing. Right? Too many choices in life. And we live in a world, and we've gotten to this point in this world where, to be honest, for many of us, if you're 40-year-old older, the world that our parents lived in and the paradigms that they followed don't really ring true anymore. To your point, I mean, you know, in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, men went to work, women stayed at home and raised kids. Simple. People, not everyone was happy, but simple paradigm. I think, you know, in the last 30 or so years or more, it's very confusing for women and it's very confusing for men. What roles do we want to have? And so I think that's where it just, to me, it just keeps getting back over and over and over. The refrain is, you know, stop, you stop thinking and worrying about, I mean, easier said than done. Stop thinking about your dad and your mom. Because to me, they are utterly useless as role models. Utterly useless. Not because of who they are personally, but because the constriction of the world that they lived in. Look at that relationship and you say, well, I want that. You ain't going to get that.
I mean, look at online dating, right?
That's not what you want.
Look at online dating. If you lived in your parents' constraints, right? First of all, your parents probably met each other in high school. We've shifted so far away from that. We've moved away from our family. We've moved away from our neighborhood. You can go online and date somebody in Japan if you wanted to. And then you're like, I found love online. He's from Japan. And then you're like, well, wait a minute, there's now a cultural difference, and now I have to readjust my life, right? So our thinking is very small because we're talking about old ideas of dating. You know, I want to meet, so for me, I needed to meet the person in person because I'm a chemistry person, and I'm like, I can't feel that chemistry through the interview. I need to see, smell, touch, do all those kinds of things in person. That was for me. Some people don't need that because at a time when I was dating, I was serial dating. I could tell by how the guy wrote to me. I was like, this guy's an idiot. What am I gonna do with this? Or I was like, this guy's really compassionate. I'll go out with him, right? And so what I'm simply saying is that the times have changed so much that we're still trying to build a model of security. We're still trying to build a model of this is what I want. There's nothing wrong with being a strong woman, period. There's lots of strong women in the Bible. But we don't look at it that way because we're stuck on Ephesians 5:2, and the wife should submit to the husband. But if you read 5:5 or whatever it is, it says, and the husband should submit to the wife. Let's not forget those things. So relationships are about, and if you can get this, right? I knew that I met the right person when I said to myself, I could submit to this person. Do you understand what I'm saying?
That's good.
Like I'm not submitting to anybody because he's the head. No, he's the head for real. He's going to make every decision out of love for me, and I'm going to do the same thing. And in that, I can submit to this guy. Now, some guy who comes over and tells me, you need to, blah, 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 dot, 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 PDSQ, you know, you're too strong, you're too that, you're not the right one for me. And I'm okay with that. But if you're okay with that, Denise, you know what I'm talking about, right? And if you're okay with that, then you could wait on the guy you could submit to because you know he's going to do right by you.
My baby brings the fire, doesn't
And so that's all good, right? You know, so we've also lived in a paradigm, and the 90s were not good to Black women because we were seen as vixens and hoes and all this, and then we outgrew that. We're like, we're gonna go get educated, we're gonna make our own money, we're gonna make our own paper, now what? And then we became two because that way of thinking was a submissive way of putting us down so that you could feel like you're a man. And now we came like, okay, so and what? I make my own paper. And now you're two. You're not two. You have to find the guy who is progressive, who is thinking like you're thinking. Like my baby make money. I'm gonna go make some money too, right? Or hey, my baby's out there doing it. You know, she needs help with these children. I'm gonna I'm going to help in that arena or whatever that is. Like Raquel, my baby is strong. She's out there doing it. She's, hey, and they're aligning with who you are. But you're aligning with who they are.
And you ain't gonna change somebody, by the way.
Dump that out.
Right? Like, I'm gonna get this guy or I'm gonna get this woman. And she's almost there. There's some things I can change. I see Denise laughing like, you are not going to change the person, period. You could be married 100 years. They are going to be who they are going to be. Can you improve a little bit? Can you scrape off the rough edges a little bit? Maybe. But
you can.
Oh my God, I think on both sides, people are always like, well, he's rich and good looking, or she's rich and good looking. I can live with the rest and I'll change. No, you won't change at all. Nobody can change anybody ever in the history of humankind. No single human being has ever changed any other single human being in the history of mankind. Now, I can put examples out there that then I internalize and kind of resonate with or not. Right? Ultimately, I changed myself.
The list that you have to have for yourself is, and this was the list that I had, and every person should have this list. Can I live with this? Or can't I live with this? Pastor Bill Faison and Angela Faison are out of Denver. They were my pastors when I was younger. And what she said was, if you find a good man and he dresses horrible, you can change his dress.
Right.
Did you understand what I said?
Yeah.
Right? She didn't say, go find a man you got to fix up. She said, you could. When I met my husband, I was like, how long you had the shirt? He was like, about 27 years, dump it. And he was willing to find clothes that he liked that were up to date. I didn't change him. He wanted new clothes. So we had a window, go get new clothes. And so if you follow those things, you'll do better in your search for even being comfortable with yourself.
I want to hear from Dr. Robert.
Me too.
They're just sitting there quietly, just going,
I love it.
Yeah, right, whatever.
So you guys get some good tips. So I want to kind of try to wrap it up, but we definitely will conclude tomorrow. But I want you all to give the audience. You've already gave some good tips and advice, but I'm gonna leave the floor open for questions. Just for anybody that haven't asked a question, or if anybody want to comment to what Lauren and Kent said, which was very awesome.
Well, I want to add my 2 cents.
Go, Dr. Robert.
Excuse me. When I was at the university, we had a kids' house, and it was about 24 kids, and the last kid that was born, she decided to call me daddy. Her mother heard that, and she said, "That's not your daddy." She said, "Can I have 2 daddies?" And she said, "Yes, sugar, whatever you want." So the level of she knowing her daddy, perfect relationship with both of them, but it was the love that she seen in me and the way I treated the other kids. The rest of the kids was calling me Uncle James, but she decided to call me daddy, and now the little girl is 34 years old, been married 8 years with a 7-year-old son, and she still called me dad. So it's like the relationship you have with people is not dependent on, whether you want to have kids or not. No, it's like the other woman said, hey, I have took care of my nieces. So when it was, that was the experience I wanted, that was it. I'm not really caring about having any kids. Same way with Denise. I didn't thought about having any kids, but hey, so the girl picked me. All these other kids picked me as the uncle. That's like it. I had nieces, nephews. The whole works. I was just going through the whole process, and didn't have to be responsible for none of them. But all of them had me to be responsible for them, it's just the idea we had a maid. We was the maid to them. And so we had a maid shift. So every 2 hours, 2 other people's will go down there and maid for the kids, and the respect that they gave us is the same respect that we gave them, and so it's like that,
I have a side note real quick. I don't know how I missed it. I never wanted to have kids and I have 3. And I wouldn't change it for nothing. I'm so blessed. I'm a single mom and I think I've done a good job, and I'm still doing a good job with God's help and, my mom and, different people that has helped me, raise my kids, but I will never change it. That one thing I didn't want, I got it in 3 times. So I feel so blessed to be a mom.
That's awesome. So never say never. Like they say, never say never. And sometimes we can make plans for ourselves, but hey, it goes into, because we don't own our own selves. I mean, there's another direction that our life takes us in, or whatnot. So my question, before we end it was for Kimberly and Raquel. So Kimberly, where is your desire at for marriage? I know you said it doesn't matter, but is your desire stronger in getting married or not being married?
I don't have a desire either way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
neutral
So
about
you
it.
pretty much
If
neutral.
it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like Denise said, I've never had that strong desire to ever be married.
Okay.
Yeah.
For 3 years, correct?
Yeah. I've been in a relationship for 3 years. Yeah.
So you're currently in that same relationship? Yes?
Yes.
Ooh,
So
yes.
I think the better question, Karen, is not whether you want to be married or not. Because for many people, especially in your kind of scenario that you've shared with us, so I have 2 sisters who have been in committed relationships for 20 plus years, married. So I don't know what everyone feels about marriage, but in other words, I would ask Kimberly, not do you want to be married, and you're like neutral about that, but do you want to stay in a committed relationship, find a committed relationship long term with someone or some other?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like I don't have a strong desire for marriage. What I do want is the relationship that I currently have, because it fulfills me and it allows me to be me, and I allow him to be him, and we fulfill each other.
Indirectly, you think that marriage might add up.
No, I've never,
Okay.
I've never cared about marriage. I have friends. I remember we were like 13, 14 years old, and they were like, you're going to be the bridesmaid. You're going to be the maid of honor. I'm going to be wearing this. The church is going to be here. And I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, what? Let's go play with something else.
If he came to you tomorrow and said, I want to get married, Kimberly, what would you say?
You wouldn't say no, Kimberly.
You wouldn't say no, probably.
I can't say that I would. I don't know. I can't say. I don't know.
Because it's not real to you yet. When it's real, you'll know.
Yeah.
I don't mean the relationship is not real.
Yeah,
I mean the
yeah.
marriage thing. I think
Yeah.
you're just hung up, which is fine. I don't mean it. No disrespect. I mean no criticism. But I think you just have this gremlin in your head about marriage, and despite what you just said, you're terrified of it. And you think it'll screw up the relationship. In my opinion. I'm not criticizing you, but I mean clearly, clearly you love this man. It sounds like, and he loves you. But then all of a sudden you're like, well, I don't care about marriage.
Because you know why? My perspective is, why do I need a piece of paper for the relationship to elevate? I can choose, we can choose to elevate the relationship.
Absolutely.
Why do I need a
Absolutely.
piece of paper? And
Absolutely.
I think that's where I get hung up on it, is I don't like labels, and I don't like something feeling like it's restricting to me. And that piece of paper, why do I need that piece of paper for either New York State to recognize it, for other people to recognize it? I'm happy in the relationship I'm in. I don't need that piece of paper for anything else.
You don't need a piece of paper for those things. You're right. So I'm not a person who is, I don't believe in shacking up. However, before we got married, he was like, I gotta live with the person. I was like, I'm not a bicycle. You can't try me out. So there was that going on, right? And I was like, if we do this, there has to be a ring, there has to be a date, blah, blah, blah. And he did all those.
She suddenly reverted to the old fashioned lady.
He did all of those things. But what was most concerning, and I asked him, I said, at what point are we married? Like, are we married at this piece of paper? Or are we married at that point where we know that there's not going to be a point of return where I'm like, I don't want to be with you anymore? But what becomes real, unfortunately, in society is, if something happens to you or something happens to your beau and their families get involved and you're like, that's not what he wanted, or he's like, that's not what she wanted. And they said, well, you're nobody. You're not married. You're just a person that they live with. And you could do that for 20 years. But if he gets sick or you get sick and you go to the hospital and you're like, I need to make the decision, they'll say, who's the next of kin? And you'll say, but I've lived with him for 20 years. And they'll say, but who's the next of kin?
Yeah. That I do recognize, yeah.
And that makes, in that aspect, then that makes sense. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the paper,
what's called a medical power of attorney.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say,
you don't have to be
they
married.
could fight that though.
Marriage is, to Kimberly's point, marriage, I think, is to some extent a legal construct.
Yeah.
It was driven by the state. The state,
Yeah.
meaning whatever power government there was at any given time. And everybody has different opinions about it, and that's fine. I mean, because Karen, I don't think marriage is a word, but again, Kimberly, I mean, for all intents and purposes, you're married now.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
And so good.
I call them my significant other.
Yeah,
and
good.
people
So good for
obviously
you.
see I don't have a wedding ring on my finger.
Right.
So
And
you
I
don't
don't
say,
care.
you don't say, oh, so you don't say boyfriend, you just say significant other.
I'd rather say significant other, because boyfriend just sounds like I'm a teenager. Like, yeah, you may be
Yeah.
around for a little while, but I may dump them sooner or later, you know?
She was calling me her husband long before we were married.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so
Whatever.
we
Anyway.
definitely have to talk about that some more about relationships, because I didn't know you was in a relationship, Kimberly.
No, I
So
didn't
that's
tell you
another
that. I think
interesting
I did tell
topic.
you that I'm a single mom. I don't think I told you I was in a relationship.
You did. You actually did. You
You're
said you
right.
were with
You
someone for 3
didn't.
years.
You
Yeah.
did.
You said you were with a man
Okay.
for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so we have Miss Teresa here.
Hey,
And
everybody. Hello.
I want to give her a
Hi.
chance to, before we end, I want to give her a chance to speak. So Teresa, we was talking about, marriages, dating, why the importance of marriage and why not. So
Right.
Kimberly just got through, telling us that she's in a 3-year relationship and she doesn't have a desire to get married. Some people do, some people don't. So what is your take on, well, first of all, introduce yourself, Teresa, and then give us a little bit of background on your stance of dating and marriage.
Absolutely. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me, Miss Karen. I'm a radio personality. I've been in mainstream radio for over 15 years. I also do TV. I just ventured in life coaching. So now I'm a certified life coach, but it's always been something I've been doing all my life. You be that one person that everyone comes to. So I'm like, you know what, this got to be a calling. So let me just walk on in it. And I'm also an author. I wrote my first ebook this year, and I have been married for 17 years. Yes, he took all of my 20s and 30s from me. So now I'm like, I got to do me now. I got to venture into other paths. I done gave you your time. But, you know, every woman and every man is different when it comes to marriage. I feel like if you know it's not best for you at this time, to just continue to ponder on it. You know, I don't recommend, marriage is tough, first of all. It's very tough. And if it's something that you do not want to get into, I don't think that you should do it. Because your odds of staying together may be less than what the probability you probably won't end up being with each other for long. And that's just the reality of it. Marriage is a true partnership. And just like the elders told me, I know it sounds so cliche, but communication is the key. And you have to walk in it with the right mindset. You have to want to do this. You're going to want to have to get dirty. You're going to have some, you know, hard nights, you know, you're going to go through some rain. You're going to go through some pain, but there is sunshine. There is love. There is peace. There is a building together. So it has to be something that you totally want to commit to. Without that commitment, it will not last. The wedding is fine, getting the dresses on, walking down the aisle, taking the pictures and the videos is the easiest part. But as soon as that next day comes along, the work begins. So you just have to be true to you. It's not for everybody. The commitment on that level is not, but it's not too far stretched from when you're already in a relationship, living with someone for 15 plus years. You still have to go through the same type of commitments. The easiest thing is just, I can just walk away. I can just leave right now if I want to, which you can still do in a marriage, but there's some type of additional bonding. It's like an umbilical cord that it's there. And so it's just not easily done to just say, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm just over it, you know? And so you have to have the tools and the resources. You want to have spiritual leaders in your life, or someone that can provide you wisdom, who's been married, who's been through it, that can drop them gems on you, because you're going to fall in and out of love, right? But the beautiful thing is that it's not about just love. Because didn't Tina Turner say what love got to do with it? You got to really like your partner. If you don't like them, you can love somebody all day, but you're going to have to be able to like the very dirty draws on that man and that woman in order for you to look beyond the faults. Because God says you're going to have to forgive 70 times 70 times 7. I'm still trying to calculate that, like 70 times 7. I'm tired. What else I got to do? Lord, I don't know if I can forgive anymore. But you got to have a heart of serenity. You have to have a heart of forgiveness, because you're going to get mad. You're going to be through. You're going to be like, man, I want to punch you in your face. Like, if you don't listen to me, and, you know, men and women are so different in our mindset. So what I'm thinking, he's definitely not thinking, and vice versa. But it is doable, and it's workable, and it can be a success. You just have to be willing to stand in the paint, get dirty, and get to the other side. So that's just my opinion on it.
You can have like without love. Can't have love without like. If you don't like the person,
Facts.
it's over.
Come
it's
on.
already over.
Come
it's
on.
over.
Yes,
So.
absolutely. That's a whole fact. Yeah. Mic drop on that. It's true, you know. But relationships are beautiful. Love is beautiful when you can find that person that loves you no matter what, just really love who you are within. It's about your heart. It's about how you treat that person, how you make them feel. And with me getting married so young, you know, you become a product of your environment. And I am a child of a divorced parent. And just to go through that and experience that, it allowed me to make certain decisions in my life when it comes to, you know, relationship. And, you know, you have to feel safe in a man, just like a man has to feel safe within you, as far as trusting you and being able to talk to you. You know, we're in a lot of situations in this world because the communication is so off. Like, if we can just communicate as a people, we will be in such a better place. It's like, how can you be scared to sit down and talk to someone you sleeping with? Hello, did the mic drop on that? I can give you that, but you can't sit down and you can't talk to me about your true feelings. Now that's a problem right there. So it's like the fear in that is what really amazes me when it comes to communication. Is about being real. You've got to be real. When you're able to tackle an issue at hand instead of it fester, then you're mad at each other, then you're not, you know, sleeping with each other, the intimacy gone. I'm not talking to you, you sleeping downstairs, I'm sleeping over here, just off of, baby, I didn't like what you did, or I don't like how you said that, or, you know, I don't think of it this way. And you both have to be submissive to each other. It's just not about a man being submissive to you. We both have to submit to each other and meet in the middle, because we all come from different backgrounds, but it's just about working together like you have to do when you're in kindergarten with the other kids. Let's work together. Let's bring the puzzles together and let's work this out together.
I love it.
Yes, well, before we close, I want to say thank you. This was really enjoyable, you know, an album. The relationship my mom and dad had with each other was more like they were 16 at all times, and they had 7 kids, and my dad will open the door for her, put out the chair for her. She'll walk in the living room out of the kitchen. He'll look up and follow her all the way to the next room. You know, it was just a kind of it was the gentleman in him, you know, that I seen, you know, and the opportunity of being in a relationship or courting somebody and looking at them going through it. You know, it was really easy for me to talk to somebody and how to respect the lady because of the way my father respected my mother, you know, so I really enjoyed this, you know, and being yourself is the key thing, and going forward on who you are, you know, it's really key. And I always say to people, you can take other people's viewpoint, are not a part of it, but the most important thing you have to do is take it and make it your own.
Absolutely. That's a whole fact. Yes. Yes.
I love it.
Individuality in a partnership is very important. Yeah. Got to be yourself.
Anybody else got any more takeaways before we conclude tonight?
I have to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts and Denise. And if anybody else would like to share or have any questions before we end the night, this was definitely awesome to celebrate the 100 episodes, and we'll definitely conclude. And I don't want to cut anybody off if you would like to encourage any of the audience with anything.
Well, happy 100-year anniversary, right?
Yes.
Wow, that's
Sure.
huge. That's huge.
Thank
So
you.
congratulations to you. And this is so needed. So, you know, anyone out there that's feeling like, you know, I don't really know how to do this, you know, I need some type of direction. This is a good platform for you to come to learn. You know, bring your best friend, bring your husband, your boyfriend, even your grandmother, if she can step in, because you're never too old to learn. And you know, just be open to new perspectives, you know, like Dr. Roberts says, about taking those points and then, you know, utilizing the ones that fit you to better yourself in your life.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you so much for coming
Absolutely.
on. And I definitely would love to have you all, if time permits, on tomorrow. We are gonna and tomorrow, so you all can just let me know. I definitely will be back here. Thank you so much, Kimberly and Lauren and Kent and Raquel. Dr. Robert Giovanni had to leave. And I know we had a couple of audiences on, so I'll definitely we'll definitely have them leave their Q&A, and I will definitely leave you all's information. So is there anything else anybody would like to say before we conclude?
It was 19 people responded to that ad, and so where they come on here, I heard it, they liked the ad, and so, and wisdom is a good app to really get acquainted
Yes.
with people, and I'll let you finish that. On the
Oh,
wisdom.
thank you so much, Dr. Roberts. Yes, I'm so glad that you brought that up. If you are not on Wisdom, download Wisdom, join Wisdom, follow Dr. Roberts. I am at Karen_Stay True podcast. It is a platform for entrepreneurs, professional coaches, therapists, doctors. We are both top mentors on the Wisdom app, and we do a lot of conversations there. That's how I met Dr. Roberts, Teresa, and some others. So if you need advice, hey, it's there. You need somebody to talk to, it's there. So anybody else? And thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Roberts, everyone else. I definitely will give you all's contact info out to the audience. And I know some of you all would like to link up with each other as well. So I definitely will connect you guys as well. So I hope everybody has a great afternoon, evening, night, wherever you're tuning from, because we're all in different time zones. So I'm on the East Coast. So thank you so much for coming to celebrate with me on the Stay True podcast. And we will definitely be in touch.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So I definitely did it say recording stop? Okay.
Yeah.
So if you all would like, if any of you would like to come back tomorrow, I will be on here tomorrow, and it'll probably be shorter because tomorrow will be the last day, but I'm always on the podcast. So anytime that any one of you want to do a segment or team up with somebody, we definitely can do something together. But thank you all again for coming in and just sharing your expertise and audience to everybody.
Okay.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. And you guys have a great evening.
You too.
Great night.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone. Bye-bye.